Boy, it's not every day that one, you find a business book that speaks intelligently and practically to your professional development needs, and then two, get the opportunity to follow up with an interview with the author of that book. Our humble thanks to author, practitioner, and CEO coach Lex Sisney for writing Organizational Physics, which is a book on the science of growing a business that has many practical applications as well as principles that'll stretch your understanding of people as well as business and as stated, the science of growth. We thank him for taking time out of his busy schedule to share his life's work and lessons with us, and hope that you enjoy this as much as I did and take something from it that you can use. Please listen through the interviews and share with us if you find something useful, and be sure to look Lex up through his website, Organizational Physics, and take a peek at the book as well. Again, thanks to author Lex Sisney. Hope that you enjoy.
It's your book, kind of more, I wanted something to dive into as we're developing our teams, another way of looking at it. So I guess, have you always been self-employed, or did you start out working with?
No, so my kind of life trajectory is, when I was 12 years old, I wrote down my ideal life, and I put a sign put it over my bedroom mirror that said, if I work harder than anyone else, I can accomplish anything.
Wow.
And my vision at 12 was that I would be a successful entrepreneur and have all the stuff that goes with that. I think it probably meant status and standing and wealth and prosperity and making a contribution. I don't think I overthought it. That just seemed like what I really wanted to do. And I was probably an average to below average student. But really enjoyed reading. Read a lot of books and had a lot of drive. And I went over to pick my way through college, and then I went over to Asia. This had been to Beijing in early 90s. That was where all the action was. I don't know. We were in a recession in the U.S. at the time, so thinking was, well, go where there's opportunity. And I spent 3 years in Asia, just kind of working for a large company and kind of learning how a large organization works. But the plan was I would work for someone for a few years and then launch my own thing, which I did. I launched that back in Minnesota. That first business didn't work, but it morphed into, I kind of pivoted it into a new space at the time called affiliate marketing.
Yeah.
And that business was kind of right business at the right time. It had a lot of explosive growth, but it was also a great learning experience for me, where I was trying to lead the company by kind of picking up ideas that I'd read in a book, but I didn't really have a systematic way, or I lacked a framework to really manage at scale. If that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so from that business, I did a couple other businesses, and I started to kind of put together a framework that made sense to me, that would be kind of timeless and universal. So the principles would apply with my marriage, as a parent, with my businesses, with my management team. I would kind of always know, kind of the feeling I was after is have a high level of confidence of what was driving what.
Yeah.
And what to do in a given situation.
Yeah.
Whether that would be a conflict with my spouse or with a board member, or what to do about business strategy, or how to get the company to drive forward more quickly. And so that experience of, struggling and then figuring some things out and thriving, made me want to articulate and codify a framework, and that's organizational physics. It's a way of thinking about your business and with a kind of why things are the way they are.
So
understanding why they are the way they are.
Is science in your background, or what kind of materialized there?
We live in a science-based culture.
Yeah.
Right, and so language that I use would work across the globe.
Yeah.
Okay, it would always be true, right? It wasn't a fad or an idea or an opinion. It was some fundamental thing of how a system works.
Yeah.
And so leveraging physics as a metaphor allows that to happen, right?
Yeah.
They study physics the same way in Paris as they do in Brazil, right? So
yeah.
there's that, and then, some principles of systems, systems theory and things like that. I think pulling in some classic laws of physics, it's just as a teaching aid, right, to get people to realize, okay, that's how things work, therefore I should do it that way.
Right.
Or if this problem's happening, maybe this lens will help me understand why it's happening so I can avoid it in the future.
That's wild. So at 12 years old, you wrote down your ideal life. Is entrepreneurship, I mean, what do you credit that to? Did that come from your parents? Were they entrepreneurs, or what kind of sparked that?
My mother was entrepreneurial. My dad was a salesman in a packaging equipment company.
Okay.
And I think it was just kind of a drive to disrupt, to change things, to see if I could do it.
Yeah.
Now, what's interesting is, be careful what you wish for. I actually created everything I wrote down when I was 12 by about the age of 29.
Okay.
So all the things I thought I wanted, I got, and then once I got it, I realized I don't want this stuff.
Yeah.
This isn't for me.
Yeah.
And so then I had to go through a great unwinding of, letting go of what I thought I should be and really owning and accepting into who I am and the work that I'm meant to do.
Wow. So up to 12, set out your ideals, and then a little over 12 more years and realized you needed to kind of reevaluate.
Reevaluate based on new knowledge.
Yeah. Huh.
New experience.
So if in those, I guess in that 12 to 29 phase or leg of the journey, I guess, you mentioned you read a lot of books and were doing a lot of searching that way. Was there kind of some key mentors in that area or key principles that you kind of latched onto?
At those early years, if you reflect on the 70s and 80s, there was a lot of personal development literature coming out, right?
Yeah.
Napoleon Hill, The Power of Your Subconscious Mind, and all these kind of books that had circulated through popular culture, and really they just pointed you, if you believe it and can visualize it and work hard towards it, then you can kind of achieve it,
Yeah.
So pretty, what we consider pretty basic stuff, but maybe stuff you need to learn in your early teens.
Yeah.
So nothing really jumps out at me as the transformative book. I'm sure there were many, right?
Yeah.
But yeah.
That's crazy. I mean, just having a vision and then driving through. So is 29, so was that after China and kind of were in that same period where you're launching your company in Minnesota and it's winding down?
No, 29 would be kind of where I started to, it's actually pretty interesting if you think about it that way. So 29 years old, I was achieving all that I set out to achieve. But a few years prior to that, I was failing perfectly,
Huh.
So I went from no girlfriend, no money, no idea of what I'm going to do, and what I thought I was going to do wasn't working, to rapidly growing business, prosperity, marriage, homeowner, right? All this very rapid transition.
Yeah. And that's
2 or 3 year transition, very rapid.
And was that in Minnesota, or is that kind of what launched you into going into?
I started a company. The company that went on to become the largest of its type. I started on the banks of the Mississippi River in St. Paul, Minnesota.
Huh.
And did an asset merger with a group from of Norwegian nationals at UCSB.
Okay.
who had developed some technology that I needed to kind of fulfill the vision, and did an asset merger with them, and then moved about 5 people out from Minnesota to Santa Barbara.
Okay.
Over a period of about 6 months.